Welcome to another episode of English Without Fear. My name is Maria, and today I'm going to tell you a story about a woman called Ruth who had an amazing adventure. So sit back, relax, and listen with the goal of understanding as much as you can with the help of the pictures and speech bubbles. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Ruth. She lived in the kingdom of Moab. There was a famine in the neighboring land of Israel, and some people, looking for food, immigrated to live near her. Ruth happened to marry one of these immigrants who had come with his parents, Naomi and Elimelech. The son's name was Mahlon, and he had a brother called Chilion, who also married a local girl from Moab. Unfortunately, Ruth's father-in-law died one day. Then her husband Mahlon and his brother Chilion also died. So 3 women, all widows, were left without a husband. Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, decided to move back to her hometown of Bethlehem in Israel. She told her daughters-in-law to go back home to their parents, and one of the young women did return home, but Ruth stayed with Naomi. Naomi and Ruth journeyed to Bethlehem, where Naomi had lived with her husband. Everyone in the town was happy to see Naomi, but Naomi was sad and angry. Life had not treated her well. Ruth had to go to the fields to work to gather food for her and her mother-in-law to survive. In those days, poor people were allowed to follow field workers and pick up leftover grain to eat. Fortunately, the fields she first worked in belonged to Naomi's husband's family. Boaz was the name of the landowner. He was a godly man. Boaz noticed the stranger from Moab right away. His men reported that she was a hard worker. He walked up to her and spoke kindly. When Ruth finished gathering food for the day, Boaz gave her some extra to take home to Naomi because he knew who Naomi was. And Ruth told her mother-in-law all about Boaz. Naomi was very encouraged by Ruth's good day. She told her daughter-in-law to keep working in Boaz's fields. She also told Ruth that Boaz was a relative of her dead husband. A while later, Naomi made a plan for Ruth to actually marry Boaz. And Ruth did exactly what Naomi told her to do. Boaz was pleased that Ruth, a younger woman, was so respectful, hardworking, and interested in him. He actually also wanted to marry Ruth, and he figured out how to help Naomi keep the land that once had belonged to her husband before moving to Moab. At this time in Israel, the local leaders would meet at the town gate to discuss and make important decisions. Boaz explained Ruth and Naomi's situation. He said he was a relative and could buy Naomi's field to keep it in her dead husband's name. But there was a closer relative than Boaz. He wanted the land, but he did not want Ruth as a wife. But the rule was this: if you bought a dead relative's land, you also had to marry the widow, or the eldest son's widow in this case. It all worked out, and Boaz bought the land, married Ruth, and they had a baby named Obed. His grandmother Naomi was happy again, and she took care of her official grandson. The ending of this story is even better than anyone could have dreamed up. For Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of King David in Israel. And Jesus, the Son of God and long predicted Jewish Messiah, was born into David's tribe of Judah.
Hi, this is Maria from English Without Fear. Thank you so much for listening and watching the story. I hope you understood most of it. And as always, I really appreciate your comments, your suggestions, any ideas for future stories. Please tell me if my pace of language is too fast or the choice of words is above what you're comfortable with. And until next time, may you be listening to conversations, reading English, all with the intent to understand the message, for that's how we acquire language.